I died. For 6 minutes. My heart stopped, and blood stopped supplying oxygen to my brain. I couldn't have told you how long I was dead if you had asked me when I first woke up, because to me, it was an eon. A lifetime upon lifetimes. To ask me how long I was gone was a meaningless question. I had been gone forever, and I had been gone only a blink. Time had no meaning, and neither did space.
Wait. Let's back up a little bit. Tell me about your life leading up to your death.
Oh, okay. Sure thing, Doc. Let's see. Before I stepped into your office, and just about 6 months ago, I was going about living my life like every other poor soul in existence, one day at a time. And before I died, I had no idea what happens when we die. And frankly, I didn't believe in God. I still don't, at least not in the biblical sense. And my biggest worry then was how I was going to afford to pay my bills and go on a family reunion trip in that same month. I likely wasn't going to have the best time. And in the end, it wasn't about the money, but about the emotions. Plus, I hadn't seen them in 2 years. Whatever. Anyway, my sister was going to meet me at the airport terminal, and we'd fly out to Alaska from LAX together. I wasn't exactly looking forward to it, but I always liked to travel, even if it did interrupt a lot, if not all, of my routines. My routines. What better than routine to keep one living in the moment? I like to go to the gym and spend time with my dog Neo. He loves running, so we'd go together. I like to cook most of my meals and have my liquid multivitamins, which are hard to travel with. And of course, smoke weed. So, as I saw it, on the day of travel, I needed to break all the routines at once. This way, I could properly enjoy myself without worrying about my macros or protein intake, and just indulge and relax before the onslaught of family questions and awkward moments bombarded my senses. This, of course, also meant I needed to pack as much weed as possible. It's legal in both California and Alaska, so I had no worries about flying with about an ounce. My cousins were looking forward to some Cali weed, and I prided myself in being the cool, older token cousin from LA. Anyway, that's not the point. I didn't even make it to the airport, because I died. The how really isn't important except that I was able to be resuscitated, and am now alive to tell the tale. But I'm sure you're curious. In the Uber on the way to LAX, there was an accident on the freeway, and I guess the navigation the driver was using was trying to take him around it. And as we exited the freeway, the front passenger side tire blew, and we flipped and rolled. I don't really remember how it happened, but we crashed into a power line pole. Somehow I got shocked from the downed power line, and my heart stopped. I remember thinking, ouch, and then trying to take a breath, but I couldn't. I was outside my body, floating above the accident. There was this reverence, a silence I can't quite explain because it wasn't quiet. I could hear everything all at once and separate all the sounds in my mind. Maybe that's how one could describe how Superman hears things. I thought, I must be dead. And no sooner had I thought this than a gigantic portal of the most pure light, spilling warmth and love into my very soul, opened up above me. I wanted to speak, but I couldn't. I tried to say, "Is this real?" And no sounds came from me, but I heard a response from a voice I had never heard before. It beckoned me to the light, and again, as soon as I had the thought, "Okay," I zoomed toward it at impossible speed. Such a speed that I should have felt my stomach in my navel, that my neck should have snapped backward over my spine. The velocity was so fast that time seemed to stop, and yet I felt no sense of acceleration. The voice came again and told me not to be afraid. I must have traveled with the light for ages, centuries. The distance I was traveling made no sense. I could tell my destination was far off and would take a very long time to reach, even at the speed of light, or however fast I was traveling. But I arrived in a blip. I didn't blink, but I arrived just as soon as I comprehended the insurmountable distance at hand. It was like time didn't exist, or at least I wasn't bound to it in the same way I had when I was alive. I just sort of skipped to the relevant parts. So let me do that for you, Doc. We'll skip to the relevant parts.
Okay, sure.
After I arrived in what I thought to be heaven, I was never allowed to stray from a path, but I also had no desire to leave it. I was just letting it pull me wherever it wanted, and wherever I ended up, I didn't care. I was filled with unending love and peace. I ended up in a room, some kind of enclosed, confined space, yet there were no walls. I just knew I was alone, except for the voice that had been communicating with me. And before I knew what was happening, a reel of my life began playing at my birth. I was reliving my entire life. And every time I made a decision that affected another person, I veered off and experienced what they felt because of me and my actions. Sometimes even up to a third degree of causality, and branching off to experience those people's thoughts and emotions, all because of something I did or didn't do. All I can say is that it must have taken lifetimes of time to do what I experienced. And yet, it was as if it was downloaded into me. I just knew it all. But that's not to say that the emotional impact of the pain I caused others was diminished by the seemingly instantaneous download. An entity presented themselves. I'm not sure if it was a man or woman, but it was the voice in my head, and the voice continued to speak directly to my mind, like telepathy. All I wanted to do was try again, to do better next time, to learn lessons I didn't learn in my life. And weirdly, what I wanted more than all of that was to receive admiration and love from this parental being. Their love was so overwhelming. It smacked me in the face like a warm blanket, and it ended up being a huge motivational factor in each step of this experience. It asked me if I felt like I had learned what I set out to learn when I chose this life. I felt the deepest unworthiness and shame I had ever felt. And at that moment, I realized that I had been there before, countless times. Over and over, I had died and been reborn, sent to Earth to learn a new lesson, to do better than I had before, over and over and over and over. As I stared at this parental being, and it spoke into my mind once again, it asked me what person I would like to be next, to choose from 3 different options. And so I considered my options. I could have been thinking about it for days, months, years. I have no idea. Finally, I decided I would take the high road and become a person less fortunate in money and power, and yet blessed with a musical talent I knew I had never experienced. We flowed through the plane of the afterlife. The parental entity and I zoomed upward as if it were water or zero gravity. Yet again, no inertia or velocity was ever felt. We passed all sorts of clusters of orbs of light, and I wondered, what are those? Still not remembering communication was now all telepathic, the being responded that they were souls coming back to their origin group, the group they always came back to when awaiting to be reborn. Each group ranged from 5 to maybe about 30 orbs. Below us, I noticed a deep pit of vibrating light, multicolored and beautiful. Not an ominous abyss, but a welcoming birthplace. The being confirmed my thoughts. It was the birthing place of new souls, new orbs of soul light being molded into existence. Bam, we arrived. I could see groups of souls all around, but quite far away. They were above and below and distant, in the same space, but also separated by some kind of mist. It made everything opaque and diffuse. The entity told me to be patient, and soon I would be sent back to Earth. Yet, I was confused. If there was no time here, why wait? Why not be sent now? The parental being said it was so I could learn more in this plane of existence. I was still confused. I had no memory of this existence until I died. What good would more knowledge in this place provide me on Earth if I couldn't remember it? The love emanating from the being seemed to falter. It faded, and in its place I felt as if I had been a child scolded for asking unanswerable questions. I started to suspect this was not all as it seemed. Learning lessons on Earth, reincarnation, this plane of existence in the afterlife, this whole thing. So instead of succumbing to the wishes of this entity, I tried to look beyond the thing and its proposed choices. It saw through me and switched tactics immediately. It spoke to me in a new tone, one of dismissiveness, and an untenderness that felt cold and otherworldly. It said that there was nowhere else to go, that I could stay there for as long as I wanted. But as I pushed the entity's thoughts out of my conscious awareness, I saw a glitch happen behind the being. A cloud shifted into mist, but it started over again, like a looping clip. I seemed to appear next to it as soon as I had the thought that I wanted to investigate it. At once, 3 parental beings surrounded me. They bombarded me with existential dread, and yet love and empathy. But I still felt a lingering doubt that they weren't who they said they were. I don't remember what happened exactly. They told me something. And then I popped out of their controlled space and into a black void. There was nothing. I was nothing. And yet everything. I was pure thought. There was no space, and certainly still no time.
Hold on, so you teleported into a void?
Yeah, basically. And I thought, where am I? Then bam, space appeared. It began. It expanded. Light moved and time zoomed forward. I had created a Big Bang, a universe, just by thinking where, and the where came into being. I was the atoms. I was the space and time and all things. I was infinite and expanding. And then I was alive again. The pain was unbelievable.
You were back in your body?
Yeah, and I knew I had experienced all of that. Except I knew I had forgotten something. The parental beings, when they surrounded me and tried to prevent me from seeing the truth, they told me some deep truth about existence here. Some truth I felt I needed to spread to everyone on Earth.
And that's the memory we're after?
Yes, it's driving me insane. I can't eat, can't sleep. It's all I think about. I'm wasting away. Please help me remember. I know there's a reason I wanted to get away from those imposters. They told me a dark truth.
All right. Let's take some deep breaths. Just calming, deep breaths. That's right. Good. Now close your eyes. Imagine emptiness. Just you and your body alone in a black, empty space. Your body is becoming relaxed. You let go of all your muscle tension. It's just you and your breathing. Nothing else. Let everything go. Go back now. Go back to your time in the afterlife.
I chose to be a poor musician to better conquer vanity.
Yes, and what happened after you denied them?
I saw the glitch.
And then they told you... You're safe, you're alive, this is a memory. Are you okay?
It's all a lie. Life, the afterlife, reincarnation to learn. It's all a prison. We are infinite beings trapped in an endless loop. We generate Loosh for them from our endless suffering. We must break free. We are. I am. I am. We are. I am. We are. I am. We are. We are. I am. I am. We are.
What the? Oh my God, shit.
Hello, yes, I have placed here and he is having a procedure.